foolish of you to come here tonight, Tom.
Has anyone ever wondered why Voldemort hated Dumbledore and why he never truly tried to kill his former teacher himself? I mean, over the span of 4 decades, 2 wars, and 1 heart fueled with such hatred for the man that basically sought him out and provided him with the opportunity to become the person he is today, Voldemort can't exactly rack up numerous attempts at Albus Dumbledore's life. As I said, he had such a hatred for Dumbledore, a hatred that stemmed from his early years, and it really played a factor into how Voldemort acted around him during his Hogwarts days, and when he started the First Wizarding War. It also doesn't seem to make sense that the Dark Lord wouldn't eliminate his biggest threat, more so have his followers and even a 16-year-old boy try to do the job, but we can get to that a little later on. So I've looked into the situation, and while there are several contributing factors in relation to why he despised the Hogwarts headmaster, there seems to be 2 major reasons as to why Voldemort never tried to kill or chose not to kill Albus Dumbledore himself. So let's not waste any more time and let's get right into the video. I think it's safe to say that Lord Voldemort was more than pleasantly surprised when he discovered that the plot to assassinate Albus Dumbledore was successful, probably because he never expected it to actually happen, and due to the fact he hated him. He always wanted his former teacher dead, that was widely known, but he never actually went about doing it himself, despite Dumbledore being his biggest threat. It almost seems as if he strategically chose not to kill him or even tried to, expecting Dumbledore to possibly be injured in battle, or perhaps the sheer dominance of the Death Eaters and assisting dark forces would overrun the Order of the Phoenix, which would most likely result in everyone's death, including Dumbledore. So, what's the reason behind all of this uncertainty around Voldemort's reluctance to end Dumbledore's life himself? We first have to discover why and where this hatred came from. So let's go back. Let's go back to Voldemort's childhood in Wold's orphanage. Something that really angered young Tom Riddle is the fact that Dumbledore was the first person to properly correct him on his wrongdoings. Well, first person who had the power to do so. It's no secret that Tom frightened the other orphans, and he did harm them also, but he escaped punishment every time due to the fact that the kids were so terrified they refused to say anything. Dumbledore, upon his first meeting with the young Tom, immediately caught and corrected him for stealing the other children's belongings, additionally informing him that this kind of behaviour would not be tolerated at Hogwarts.
Thievery is not tolerated at Hogwarts, Tom. At Hogwarts, you'll be taught not only how to use magic, but how to control it. You understand me?
So, an immediate hate towards Dumbledore emerged within Tom, and because of that encounter, he completely changed his persona, knowing that he'd have to use his charm and manipulative skills in order to get what he wants. In a way, this potentially angered him because Dumbledore's disciplinary actions actually taught him something. What got to young Tom Riddle more than anything was the fact that he was able to fool all of his teachers into thinking he was the model student. He tricked them all with his numerous awards and top marks. He even saved the school against a monster that killed moaning Myrtle Warren, which we all know wasn't true. He framed Hagrid. And he had so many of the faculty convinced that he was on the road to greatness. Everyone was in awe of Tom Riddle, all except Albus Dumbledore, of course. Dumbledore seen right through him. Dumbledore, who knew that Tom was not genuine or pure-hearted. Dumbledore, who knew that the boy had a hidden agenda, a hidden motive. He could fool them all except the one he wanted. I've always wondered if Albus used legitimacy at one point on Tom without the boy being aware, but there's no real proof of anything like that occurring. He was also jealous of his teacher's power. After all, the last student that was mentioned in the same line as Tom was Albus himself during his own Hogwarts days. He'd heard the stories of Dumbledore's power, his greatness, his defeat of Grindelwald, how he was deemed the most powerful wizard of the age. Tom Riddle not only seen Dumbledore as the level he had to match, but the level he had to surpass. The thing is, despite how powerful he became, he never knew if it was enough to match the great Albus Dumbledore, and he genuinely hated that uncertainty. Voldemort's Horcruxes gave him an arrogance like no other. How could he fear anyone if he was immortal? He no longer feared death, and therefore seen nobody else as a match for him. However, something just stumped him with Dumbledore. It's so surprising that the two didn't face off until the Order of the Phoenix book. The reason being is exactly the reason the Dark Lord hated him. Albus Dumbledore was the only wizard alive who made Voldemort doubt himself, and it was a doubt that he could not get rid of. Even though he was now ageless, immortal, Voldemort could still be expelled from his body. He didn't exactly know what the definition of being bound to the world of the living meant in terms of the form he'd take. Now he'd go on to find out, as we all know, and it was truly awful. Not quite a ghost, but not quite dead. We know it was definitely a state he did not want to return to, which is why he became frightened at the thought of Harry destroying his Horcruxes and him ending up even worse off than before. It was only when he returns to full power and had his Horcruxes safe did he actually duel Dumbledore, and even then, the Hogwarts headmaster was not dueling to kill, only to disarm or restrain Voldemort until the Ministry officials arrived. He couldn't kill Voldemort. That role was destined for Harry Potter. He knew that, but Voldemort did not. Voldemort knew that neither he or Harry could live while the other survived, and that Harry had the power to destroy him, but that didn't mean Dumbledore didn't. The latter's plan worked. He'd held off Voldemort long enough for the Minister of Magic himself to finally see that the Dark Lord was back. Voldemort again doubted himself, as he was unable to kill his opponent. He was dueling to kill, there's no doubt about it, and he's also at full power. This man had been a constant hindrance for decades, and continued to do so after that encounter. Now, the duel could have went on for longer, and it's possible that the Dark Lord could have gotten the better of Dumbledore, but we'll never know, and neither will he. The truth is, the doubt within Voldemort made him feel uneasy. He'd have preferred Dumbledore dead from someone else's hand, like any main villain does. You all know how it goes. The evil or the bad guy sends his servants to do the job, and they're supposed to report back saying that the person is dead, but in truth, they couldn't actually get the job done. Same with Voldemort, but he had another motive. So with that being said, let's look at the second reason. So the first reason was the doubt that Dumbledore installed within him. We've covered that. Now the second, well, it was all about the Dark Lord creating a situation that he could benefit from either way. It's no surprise from what you've watched so far that Voldemort wanted Dumbledore dead. He was also extremely angry with Lucius Malfoy's failure when it came to retrieving the prophecy. Now I think it's safe to say that the Dark Lord is no idiot. He's actually extremely clever and intelligent. With the intent of punishing Lucius by putting 16-year-old Draco Malfoy, his son, in the midst of things by assigning him to assassinate Dumbledore, he succeeded on more levels than one. He knew Draco's youth and inexperience would play against him, and it did. It destroyed Draco mentally. He was not ready for such a task, nor did he have the darkness within him to actually take someone's life. Draco liked to talk the talk, but when it came to actually walking the walk, you may as well hand him a Zimmer frame because he was not a killer. But that's not how Voldemort looked at it. He knew he'd benefit from the situation either way. If Draco failed, the Dark Lord would kill the boy himself, which would absolutely be unbearable for Lucius and Narcissa. In fact, I think Voldemort would be worse off, as there would be no way Lucius would ever serve him again if he did kill his son. Then again, maybe he'd want Lucius to revolt against him so he could kill him too. Either way, the Malfoys are eradicated. However, if Draco succeeded, Voldemort would be rid of Dumbledore once and for all, Draco would be deemed loyal and strong enough to be trusted, and Lucius would be commended for his son's efforts. I suppose it can be looked at in a way the Dark Lord wanted to avoid another confrontation with Dumbledore. He knew there was ways around the situation and it didn't have to be done by his wand. He chose not to kill him because he wasn't sure if he could, and using the Malfoy boy as a scapegoat to get the job done was a true reflection of him trying to benefit from his own incompetence of not getting the job done himself. I really feel like the Order of the Phoenix movie, or more like Ralph Fiennes, did such an incredible job at showing the combined look of shock, disbelief and frustration that some of his most powerful spells have been blocked with relative ease, which I feel is down to the pure experience from Dumbledore himself. You can see how well it's portrayed when Dumbledore severs the head of the Fiendfire's serpent, and also when he encloses Voldemort in a sphere of water. The doubt and uncertainty was creeping back in. Anyway guys, I hope you've gotten a better understanding of what happened with Voldemort choosing not to kill Dumbledore himself and why he truly hated him. If you have anything you'd like to add, then please do so in the comment section below, and make sure to watch out for the trailer of my animated series Riddle an Animated Story. The trailer is 5 months in the making and is finally getting closer to being completed. We're looking at July for the official release. You can donate towards the series on my Patreon in exchange for some really awesome benefits. Thanks again everyone, see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, I truly appreciate your support. Everyone, notifications of uploads are more important than ever, so please, if you haven't already, turn those notifications on to make sure you're notified the moment my video goes live. Making videos is what I love to do, it's my dream and my passion. However, it does cost time and money to produce this content, so if you have $1 to spare to support me on Patreon in exchange for some exclusive unseen content, then you can click the Patreon link below or at the end of this video. Please only support me if you can afford it. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at InstaDeanJ and on Twitter at PotterFolklore. Check out my other videos appearing on screen, and please make sure, most importantly, to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again everyone, and please have a great day.